News mobile app, the one-stop information center. Real news at your fingertip. Be the first to report by uploading first-hand information on the U Report link, and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links on the sidebar for headlines, domestic and foreign news, economy, security, politics, sports, and more.
Hello, good evening. Tonight, we will engage you with health matters, which we believe is very important to everyone. And so, welcome to another edition of Weekend File. Malaria remains the most prevalent disease in Nigeria and indeed Africa. It carries high morbidity and mortality, especially in infancy, children, and during pregnancy. Malaria drug such as quinine was an important and effective treatment for malaria decades ago. Some years after, a substitute was formulated to enhance efficacy, the chloroquine. Currently, both quinine and chloroquine are now ineffective anti-malaria drugs, and in their place, WHO recommended the use of artemisinin compound or other derivative in combination with other effective anti-malaria drugs as ACT in treating of acute malaria. The problem of anti-malaria drugs resistance, experts say, is that it is compounded by cross-resistance, a situation in which resistance to other drugs that belong to the same chemical family or have similar mode of action. Reports have it that the resistance has caught up with artemisinin, which has been detected in 5 countries. But in 2011, WHO released a global plan for artemisinin resistance containment with goals and recommendations which include increased monitoring and surveillance to evaluate the artemisinin resistance threat, improve access to diagnostics and rational treatment with ACT, and investment in research. Tonight on the show, we will examine the situation in Nigeria with a view to addressing the widely reported incidences of malaria in Nigeria. This is Weekend File, and I am Kurian Umayo. Thank you for being there for us. And I will bring you news of the day. Twin explosions early Saturday morning in Maiduguri have killed 9 people, while 21 others sustained various degrees of injuries. Lamiali reports.
The early Saturday morning twin suicide bomb attacks occurred within an interval of about 7 minutes. The first was carried out by a man disguised as a woman who joined a group of IDPs in front of the Bakassi camp along Maiduguri Road and detonated the bomb, killing himself and 5 others, while the second exploded inside a tricycle close to the gate of NNPC depot on Dembo Road, claiming the life of the suicide bomber and 2 occupants. The driver of this Peugeot 406, who was driving by when the bomb exploded in the tricycle, escaped unhurt.
I only heard the explosion and the airbag came out. I then ran out of the car.
The remains of the 9 victims of the twin blasts have been evacuated, while those injured were taken to hospital for treatment. The 2 attacks coming less than 3 weeks after the suicide bomb attack at Muna Garage in Maiduguri, according to the GOC 7th Division, Brigadier General Victor Ezugu, and State Police Commissioner Damian Chuku call for more vigilance.
We have been securing Maiduguri from blasts in the last 4 months plus. We have taken out about 7 suicide bombers attempting to break through Maiduguri. But today, very unfortunately, we had 2 twin explosions here.
What happened today is they pointed to the fact, or confirmed the fact that they have no access. That is why they decided to do it in the periphery.
The GOC urged residents to be alert and report any suspicious persons or movements to security personnel. In Maiduguri, Lami Ali, NTA News.
Vice President Yemi Oshibajo says the federal government is not only working to end the menace of Boko Haram, but also laying the foundation for good governance so the country does not experience such a phenomenon in the future. The Vice President said this while delivering a lecture on destroying Boko Haram and rebuilding of Nigeria's northeast at the Weatherhead Center for International Affairs, Harvard University in the United States of America. He said thousands of persons in captivity had been freed, while the insurgency had failed to divide Nigerians along religious lines, adding that work is in progress to change the narrative the insurgents sold to the people. The Vice President stressed the need for concerted global action against terrorism and international collaboration to tackle the humanitarian crisis in the Northeast.
The strategic communication platform is designed entirely to mobilize our history and culture and reaffirmatory narratives to address the identity intellectual deficit that may in some ways account for radicalization of young people. Something that is clear and a very major failure of the Boko Haram insurgency is the failure to divide Christians and Muslims and to give the impression that this was actually a war of Islam against Christianity.
Vice President Oshibajo will undertake other engagements in the United States before returning to Nigeria tomorrow. Federal and state ministries of information and culture are to mount aggressive campaigns through relevant media platforms aimed at making people, especially the youth, embrace the acquisition of skills as a gainful means to earn a living. This was contained in a 21 communique issued at the end of the 46th meeting of the National Council of Information in Asaba, Delta State. The communique also called on states to activate all media platforms to promote government policies, programs, and key into the Change Begins With Me campaign. The communique harped on the need to fast-track action on rural internet connectivity and organize training in all the 774 local government areas on the use of e-media to facilitate rural and urban connectivity. Minister of Communications Abdul Rahim Adebayo Shitu has reiterated federal government's commitment to utilizing the untapped potential of information technology in diversifying and revamping the nation's economy. He said this at the 4th National Council's meeting held in Kaduna. Garba Mohammed Baltala reports.
Some of the issues raised by the minister include unsolicited text messages being sent to telecom subscribers, insufficiency in service delivery, multiple taxation and data challenges, among others. All these, the minister, Abdurrahim Adebayo Shitu, pointed out the Nigerian Communications Commission made effort to resolve by providing a platform in tackling such challenges.
I therefore urge all stakeholders in the Nigerian ICT enterprise to join hands for the realization of the potentials of the sector as a vehicle for economic diversification.
Governor Nasir Ahmad El-Rufai of Kaduna State stressed that the country for long had been grappling with different telecom challenges, but optimistic that Nigeria will reap the benefits of information communication technology, particularly employment opportunities. Chairman Senate Committees on ICT and Telecom Abdul Fattah Buhari and Isa Hamansau said that economic growth will be achieved if ICT is properly harnessed. There were presentations of new communication technology facility that will change the face of payment of bills, cash savings, online purchasing, among others. In Kaduna, Garba Muhammad Atala, NTA News.
Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has echoed the need to make agriculture attractive if it must be embraced by the upcoming generation. Chief Obasanjo was speaking at the 2016 Tony Elumelu Foundation Entrepreneurship Forum in Lagos. Anthony Folsom was there for us.
Apart from former President Olusegun Obasanjo, the four other panelists who equally took cursory look at what needs to be done to promote young entrepreneurs on the African continent include the President of Sierra Leone, Ernest Bai Koroma, former Prime Minister of Benin Republic, Lionel Zinsou, Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed, and Folorunsho Alakija of the Rose of Sharon Group. In their separate submissions, they commended the Tony Elumelu Foundation for the initiative to create entrepreneurs in Africa who will in turn unleash their wealth on the continent's economy, saying they stand to dominate Africa's economy in no distant time. When asked to individually recommend how the young entrepreneurs can be supported to grow in their chosen fields, the panelists were quick to make suggestions using life experiences as yardstick.
First, we have to glamorize agriculture. And if you are going to give loan to agriculture, not at the rate of 20%, you cannot be serious. America developed the agriculture at the rate of 2.5% and 3%.
The financing institutions and other institutions created should have commitment to ensure that they provide them with the appropriate support that will help to build their technical capacity.
We want to say every day, we trust you, we rely on you.
When I say enabling environment, the first thing you need is security. No matter how brilliant you are, no matter the amount of money, there's no security in the country, you are not moving anywhere. And that's what's important when I talk about enabling environment, security is the first.
They need the finance. You cannot do business without finance.
Founder of the Tony Elumelu Foundation called on global stakeholders and influential Africans in development to embrace and support these rising African entrepreneurs.
We have to engage and put pressure on ourselves and our leaders to do more until we eradicate poverty in Africa.
The 1,000 youths are drawn from all the countries in Africa, and it will run for 10 years. In Lagos, Anthony Forson, NTA News.
Ongoing efforts to protect the environment and halt desertification received a boost in Ekiti State with the flag-off of a Reforestation project. Environment Minister Amina Mohammed, who flagged off the project in Ilupeju, said the federal government will continue to provide the enabling environment for reforestation and sustainable forest management. Abiola Ogumoyela reports.
The human attitudes, which include massive deforestation and other illegal engagements, have inhibited forest preservation and consequently having negative effects on human and economic development. The minister, who was represented, said the need for massive reforestation, strengthening forestry law, as well as massive campaign against acts inimical to the nation's forestry by rural and urban dwellers has become imperative.
We should all embark on tree planting for the survival of our nation.
National Chairman, Processed Wood Producers and Marketers Association of Nigeria, Mr. Ademola Oyaleke, and his counterpart, Chief Ibitayo Omotoye, National Chairman, Tropical Wood Exporters Association of Nigeria, identified the importance of preserving the nation's forestry.
We observe nobody is interested of doing an afforestation anymore.
New commitment to invest in tomorrow and do your part to make Nigeria the place of choice to live.
Ekiti State government gave assurance that government will always embrace initiatives that will promote afforestation in the state. From Ado-Ekiti, Abiola Ogunmoyela, NTA News.
And the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress APC, Chief John Odige Oyegu, has urged members to always respect the party's supremacy and be guided by its constitution in the interest of fair play to safeguard internal democracy. He was speaking while declaring open a 3-day retreat for APC officials and stakeholders on party management organized by APC Kano chapter holding in Sokoto. Usman Mohammed Binji reports.
The 3-day retreat organized by APC Kano State Chapter is expected to serve as a period of stock-taking and to serve also as a platform to discuss the way forward to make the party stronger. The national chairman of APC, Chief John Oyegun, says the party is neither in disarray nor crisis, saying the perceived differences are making the party stronger. He explains that they are working hard to further make APC more united, strong, and a party that belongs to everybody. He underscores the giant stride made by President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration in the areas of security, fight against corruption, and diversification of the nation's economy.
The benefit of this is that we have a man that God gave us at this crucial period of our history to save the nation from collapse.
Governor of Kano State, Abdullah Umar Ganduje, says the 3-day retreat is organized with a view to making the ruling party strong, living, and functional.
To be aware of the activities of the party and also to appreciate the leadership of the party.
The host, Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal, commended Kano State chapter of APC for choosing Sokoto as the venue of the Nobel Initiative. He described the retreat as a worthy of emulation by all APC chapters in the country. Governor Umar Ganduje and his entourage had earlier called on Governor Aminu Waziri Tambuwal at Government House, Sokoto, Osman Mohamed Benji, NTA News.
A wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Delapo Oshibajo, has urged mothers to uphold positive family values and inculcate them into their children to make crimes unattractive among the youths. Mrs. Oshibajo was speaking at the 2016 Arise Women Conference by the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Apapa Province, Lagos. James Ojuku has the report.
The conference, which has as its theme Grace to Grace, is an annual event which seeks to inspire and empower women to impact positively on their families, the society and the nation at large. Wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Dolapo Oshibajo, expressed regrets that despite the nation's rich mineral and human resources, Nigeria is yet to fully assert itself as a leader in the Committee of Nations.
We need to pray for Nigeria because it's not yet there. What the Lord intended for us, we have not yet attained.
She charged women, particularly mothers, to be more passionate in bringing up their children to reduce antisocial vices in the country. Guest speakers at the event, Pastor Mrs. Becky Enenche and Pastor Mrs. Grace Okorede, charged women to key into the grace available to them to make a difference in the society, particularly in governance. Convener of the conference, Pastor Mrs. Siju Iluyamade, explained that she was inspired to empower women, and for 8 years now, the Arise Women has empowered women through skill acquisition programs and free healthcare services, among others.
Here, as a body, to compel competent women not to be afraid to take the reins of leadership.
You train a woman, you've trained the whole village. So women are the change agents, and they'll bring about that change in Nigeria.
Women coming together like this is very inspirational. And you are saying what? Let's hold each other, raise one another, and not look down on anybody. And in the process, also ensure that we do the best for our country. We are mothers of the nation.
Leading musical artists added color to the event. In Lagos, Jane Ojuku, NT News.
In its quest to eliminate breast cancer as a life-threatening disease through public education and patient support, the Naval Officers' Wives Association, NOAA, has carried out an awareness campaign in Pegi, Kuje area of the Federal Capital Territory. Defense correspondent Isaac Nkuma reports.
Recent statistics reveal that over 100,000 women in Nigeria were newly diagnosed with breast cancer, and over 71,000 of them dying each year, with another 10% at the risk of getting the disease before age 75. Limited knowledge, experts say, is the bane of winning the war against breast cancer, which many women have tagged incurable. National President of NOAA, Theresa Ibas, who was represented, says the association is on a mission to change the mindset.
If in the course of examination anything is dictated, as you are aware, the Navy has very good medical centers. Such an individual will be referred to the medical center for further treatment. But the essence is that let us just try and see if we can catch it early. Then of course the chances of survival are very high.
Is more in the elderly, but you can have them in younger age group. You have as young as 15-year-old having breast cancer. That does not exclude the younger age group, but it is common in the older age group. So that is that. Then other causes may be what we call the genetic factors, the family history.
NOAA's presence in the advocacy community is targeted at the wives of Nigerian Navy personnel across the country. The group also donated some items to the hospital at Navy Barracks, Kuje. In Abuja, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has felicitated with legendary newscaster, presenter, and first African female to appear on television. Nike Abuja Williams, on her 80th birthday. A statement signed by the President's Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, quoted the President, describing Williams as one of the pioneer African television broadcasters, better known as African First Lady on the Tube, believing the veteran journalist worked hard to inform, educate, and entertain her viewers, and to also sustain the legacy of Chief Obafemi Awolowo, who established the Western Nigerian Television, WNTC. The President commends the courage and persistent spirit of Williams, who constantly pushed herself to improve her God-given talent until she reached the pinnacle of her career, counting home many awards even after retirement. President Buhari's praise for the Almighty God to grant Williams longer life, good health, and more strength in her refound love of singing in choir after retirement. And you can watch this news bulletin live online via the NTA mobile app, which you can also download on your Android device and the Google Play Store or at the Apple Store if you use devices with iOS. And now to tonight's business. The Malaria or Nigerian National Malaria Strategic Plan 2014 to 2020 indicates that malaria is responsible for 60% of our patient visits to health facilities, 30% of children deaths, and 11% of maternal deaths. And in spite of several interventions, more cases of malaria are being recorded, with outbreak recently. Remain with us as we examine the causes and way out after these messages. Don't go away. This is Weekend File.
When has it reached this? Much less this. And this. And this. And this. Help reclaim our Commonwealth. Lend your support to the fight against corruption for a better Nigeria.
Goodness is getting better. Introducing new exciting packs from Hollandia Yogurt. Goodness just got better. Hollandia Yogurt. It's all good.
From the House of Chi.
Goodness is getting better. Introducing new exciting packs from Hollandia Yogurt. Goodness just got better. Hollandia Yogurt. It's all good.
From the House of Chi.
Smoking is bad for your heart. It is one of the main causes of coronary heart disease. To keep your heart healthy, avoid smoking.
Do you know that importing consumables and domestic products kill local manufacturing and negatively affect the growth of the economy? That some imported products are dangerous to your health? That building factories can generate massive employment and grow the economy? Buying locally made products and services means investing back in the economy. Thousands of Nigerians are innovative and can take Nigeria to the next level. Growing the economy starts with you and I. Raise the standard. Grow the economy. Buy Made in Nigeria.
On your way home, something fascinating happens in the shop. Wow, what's that? A tasty fruit drink shines. It's in a pouch, but not a normal pouch. It's the fascinating Capri-Sun pouch. It's great to handle and easy to use for everyone. Capri-Sun brings the real fun to drinking. Put the straw in and the fascination continues. Capri-Sun, naturally fun.
House of Chi.
IGR workshop for heads of tertiary institutions in Nigeria, holding in Abuja. In times like this, only creative and innovative institutions can fulfill their visions and missions. Join other vice chancellors, rectors, and provosts for this 360 degrees strategic blueprint summit for tertiary institutions, internally generated and third stream revenues. Date 1st and 2nd November 2016. Venue Race Continental Hotel, Central Business District, Abuja. For inquiries, call 0818-502-1405 or 090-345-34925. You can also email us with info@scbsedu.org or you visit our website on www.scbsedu.org/IGR Abuja to register. Please come with the directors of income generating centers of your institution. IGR Workshop. We learn, network, and re-strategize. This initiative is of Sean Cousins Consulting and NTA TV Enterprise.
Introducing the new look of Refreshment. The new, happier, friendlier packs of Happy Hour by Chivita. Packed with more bursts of fun and refreshment. Happy Hour by Chivita. Happier bursts of refreshment. Introducing the new look of Refreshment. The new, happier, friendlier packs of Happy Hour by Chivita. Packed with more bursts of fun and refreshment. Happy Hour by Chivita. Happier bursts of refreshment.
And you are welcome back. Now, we are going to bring you the background story for tonight. And that background story was put together by Olagunju for us. That's our health correspondent. Let's take that report. That's the backgrounder where Rashida Mustafa Olagunju examines the factors responsible for reoccurrence in malaria treatment in Nigeria. Let's take that report now.
Malaria is a major public health problem globally. Though the 2015 World Health Organization malaria report has it that its prevalence dropped with about 37% globally and about 47% in Africa. Sequel to this, malaria-related mortality rates also reduced. In Nigeria, report has it that there is appreciable progress in the fight against the disease, resulting in about 18% reduction in under 5 mortality rate.
Malaria is been a serious issue in me. I've been treating malaria often and often, but whenever I take this tablet and treat it, maybe in a space of 2 weeks, it will come back again.
I've had malaria this year like 3 to 4 times.
I've had malaria like 2 times in this year. And whenever it happens, I consult doctor and they undergo test, then they prescribe drugs for me.
However, observers say the recent increase or recurrent malaria cases shows that a lot still needs to be done. Drug resistant, treatment failure, insecticide resistant, and climate change are identified as factors that might be responsible for the situation.
We know that the malaria parasite is a very trickish parasite. That is why up to this moment we've not been able to find out now a vaccine for malaria, because the parasite is able to change its form. This process that is able to repair these holes, this damage is caused by drugs. You will need optimum dosage. So the key thing here is the dosage. When we start taking these anti-malarials and we feel better, the tendency is for us not to continue. For others who take these drugs, do they even take it at the correct time?
Political will, adequate local research, robust surveillance system should be put in place, as well as regular enlightenment of populace on the ills and prevention of malaria.
We clean our environments. We try to remove the breeding sites for this mosquito. That will reduce it to some extent. Once beaten, we should go to the correct facility to have the diagnosis, get the right medication.
Experts also discourage self-medication and advocate environmental and personal hygiene. Rashidat Mustafa Olagunju, NTA News.
And from Lagos, Joy Ken Ababwaya updates us on the situation.
Malaria, an infectious disease caused by the parasite Plasmodium and transmitted to humans by the female Anopheles mosquito, is endemic in Lagos State and has remained one of the leading causes of morbidity and mortality in the state. Hospital reviews show that the disease accounts for over 60% of outpatient visits and over 80% of all tracer conditions reported by primary healthcare facilities. The most vulnerable groups medical experts say are children under 5, pregnant women, visitors from non-endemic areas, and those with sickle cell anemia and HIV/AIDS. The disease is made worse in the states by unhygienic practices of many residents and other environmental factors that encourage breeding of mosquitoes. This situation, experts explain, leads to increased human vector contact, which promotes the continuous transmission of infection.
The individual has a key role to ensure that the environment remain clean, and individuals play their role in maintaining the environment clean. Your houses, make sure that your houses are very well screened. That's part of what needed to be done. But for the environment in particular, we need to change our behavior.
Lagos State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Lajide Idris, says bringing an end to the scourge through its malaria elimination program is a top priority of the state government.
Sensitization of people, that's advocacy. You need to let the people know what malaria is, what causes it, how to prevent it, the role of the people themselves. We also decided that we're going to do what they call environmental control or vector control.
Residents are advised to key into the eco-free malaria and roll back malaria programs and use the long-lasting insecticide-treated nets to prevent malaria. In Lagos, Joy Ken Abakpoya, NTN News.
And Mohammed Abdulkadir from our Benin Network Center reports on the predisposing factors to malaria and measures to stem the tide.
The environment that we're living in had been destroyed by virtue of these oil spills and gas flares that had made the natural ecosystem destroyed, devastated.
There's hardly any home you go to that you will not find one person down as a result of malaria.
Over the years, Edo State government adopted advocacy, funding, and synergy with local and foreign partners in anti-malaria campaigns.
This is Benin Central Hospital, where statistics on prevalence of malaria revealed 7 in 10 cases of morbidity and 3 to 5 of mortality in 10 cases.
Government need to strengthen its health care delivery system.
It is on record that a reduction in the proportion of severe malaria was observed in the derived savannah area in Asian Northeast and Onwan West, as well as in the lowland forest urban city center of Benin, Oedo, and Igweben. Improvement in combating malaria in Edo State is observed at the secondary healthcare referral level as against the primary healthcare level.
That the government will extend this progress of this hospital to rural area.
While the database of the Malaria Control Unit of the State Ministry of Health showed a drop in the prevalence of malaria in some areas, it is not so in some others, owing to the challenge of ignorance and in some areas nonchalant attitude to the predisposing factors. In Benin, Muhammad Abdelkadir, NTA News.
And this is Weekend File on the network service of the NTA. Up ahead is the discussion segment. Stay with us. Shortly, but meanwhile, let's take you to Lokoja for the next report.
The World Health Organization record for Kogi State shows that between January and June this year, malaria accounts for 31% of children who died under the age of 5. The riverine nature of Kogi State and other environmental factors such as vegetational clusters, unclear drainage resulting to stagnant water bodies around human settlements, coupled with people's negative attitude towards the use of mosquito-treated nets, expose them to diseases.
Any component part of the environment that is marshy, dampy, and that harbors or contain stagnant waters. You know, the adult mosquitoes lay their eggs on such bodies of water.
In its effort to reduce the incidence of malaria, The state government, through its medical and environmental unit, has embarked on training and retraining of staff and stepped up social mobilization to inculcate the right environmental habits on the people.
Yeah, the state government has been trying their best. They are making the environment conducive for us to control the malaria. They have key into the national strategic plan. That's a document nationally for malaria control.
You want to control malaria, therefore, make sure that all bushy environments are cleared.
Experts say with the right environment and regular use of mosquito nets, a lot can be achieved in the fight against malaria. In Lokoja, Francis Udojo for Weekend 5.
Now, Kano State government has assured people of continuous management of malaria in the face of increase of the menace. Madaki Aliyu has a situation report.
That was conducted last year, put Kano with the prevalence of about 60% using the RDT and about 28% using the microscopy.
Record from the State Ministry of Health, Kano, shows that from January to August this year, 91,769 cases were recorded as against last year. The record also showed that Gwale local government area has the highest cases of 20,086, while Warawa, the lowest, has 8,720. He identified misuse of mosquito nets and filthy environment, as well as herbal concoction and fake and substandard medicine as some of the factors responsible for the high cases.
We have procured so many sulfadoxine parametamine, that is SP, for the pregnant women, as well as LLINs, that is long-lasting insecticide-treated nets.
He outlined measures to address the menace by government, to include distribution of testing kits to health centers and fumigation, free drugs and provision of insecticide-treated nets for people. However, a public health expert, School of Hygiene Kano, Mustafa Yunusa, says the general public must adopt healthy lifestyles in order to prevent mosquitoes from breeding in the environment. From Kano, Madaki Aliyu for Weekend 5.
It's now time for the break. We'll be back in a moment.
This must be one of Mother Nature's greatest gifts. But there's something else it gives us. When we see such beauty, we want to share it with those we love. That's what LG wants you to see. Just what we see now, through our technology. LG OLED TV.
Feel the tasty, refreshing goodness of Chi Iced Tea. Chi Iced Tea, made from premium natural tea leaves. With delicious fruity flavors. Chi Iced Tea. Drink positive. Come over to the tea side of life.
In life, there are many distractions, but the future is always created by those who can focus on the goal. Techno Phantom 6 with dual back camera and adjustable focusing technology. Never say it, show it.
Nigerians. Suicide bombers are not spirits. They are not ghosts. They are human beings like you and me. They live amongst us. They are your neighbors. They are your friends today, but terrorists tomorrow. So you must know your neighbor now. Security begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects, and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite.
against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
And you are welcome back. You're still watching Weekend File, and joining me in the studio now is Dr. Aldi Bala Mohammed, the coordinator of the National Malaria Elimination Program, to discuss the issues about malaria. So malaria actually is a very common disease in this part of the world, and the reoccurrence of it was predicted about 3 years ago. Why did we not hit to that? Because of course somebody raised alarm over 3 years ago on the possibility of this resistance.
Well, actually, I will not dispute that, but you know, Nigeria is an endemic country. It's in the sub-Saharan region of Africa, and which is an environment very conducive for the breeding of the mosquito, which carries the parasite. So, but it is also associated with the rainy season and some climate issues. And if you can agree with me, this year the rainfall was so heavy all over the country, and as such the breeding of the mosquito has upsurged. As a result, we have witnessed some slight increase in what we have been seeing in the last 2-3 years. But as far as our data is showing, that within the last 5 years, we have seen reduction in the prevalence of malaria from 42% to 27%. However, when we started getting record with this analysis, and then we have identified some states, and currently we have beefed up our interventions in many of the states of the Federation.
All right, now you have mentioned the weather. That was going to be my next question. But I would like to ask you this. Now, is it drug resistance actually, or failure to adhere to the required dosage? Right, because what we are talking about tonight has to do with somebody having malaria perhaps every 3 months, as the case may be. From what a respondent said in some of the reports, he discovered that some people had malaria about 3 or 4 times this year.
Well, I think what I will advise the populace to do is that whenever they have fever, they should take note that not all fevers are due to malaria. So the best thing to do is first to have diagnosis. And lucky for us, we have some very quick way, what we call rapid diagnostic tests, which will give you the result within 15 minutes. So if you are able to do that test, it will show whether the fever you have is due to malaria or not, because there are thousands of causes of fever. So when you do the test and the test is positive, you are supposed to go and get the assured anti-malaria medicine, that is the ACT. But if you take any other drug that is not recommended quality assured ACT, you tend to either subdue the malaria a while, and then later on it will come back. But if you take the appropriate medicine at the appropriate dosage and the duration of the treatment, which doesn't last not more than 3 days, it will clear the parasite. And it will take quite some time before you can get. But you know, also you also need to also adhere to all other preventive measures that we have put in place in our strategies.
Because if I may ask you this, a situation where someone had earlier gone to medical personnel for treatment, tests and all of that, and came up with malaria, and after 3 months, the person goes back and actually gets the same result from the same medical personnel, then it does mean that something is wrong. So I want to ask you this question. Is there anything wrong with ACT treatment? Is it still working, you know, as when it was first introduced, when chloroquine and lidocaine and the rest of them, you know, were phased out? People are complaining seriously because these are people who have gone to routines, you know, of treatment. You know, I begin to believe, look, some changed drugs actually, when perhaps after taking one, it's not working anymore. Perhaps the one that has been working, this time around, say, okay, look, change. Even some medical personnel do prescribe other drugs apart from the one you've been using, the one we've been using before. So what is the situation?
Well, the situation is that we do monitoring, we do drug therapeutic efficacy tests every 2 years. And so far, all the ACTs that we have been deploying or allowing our regulatory body to register that come into the country are showing efficacy of over 95%, which is what was recommended by the WHO. But you also find instances whereby some counterfeit or some substandard drugs do come into the country through some leakages. So, and then because of maybe the socio-economic situation of people or the ability, the not following the instruction to go to the appropriate health facility to get the appropriate drug, people now take those substandard drugs. And if you do so, then you have tendency of not curing your malaria. And on many occasions, they don't even do the tests before taking the medication.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, people also think that the use of insecticide treated bed nets could help in this respect. But it does seem that nothing has changed ever since people started using this net. What's your take on that?
Well, you find that if you use the net, it will prevent the mosquito even from biting you. And most of the time when mosquito bites and that cause malaria is usually from in the night, from maybe 11 o'clock in the night to almost 4 o'clock. So if the vector, that is the mosquito, doesn't have access to you, the tendency for you to get the parasite injected into you is very minimal. But so far, all the studies that we have done have shown that use of the long-lasting insecticide-treated nets is very efficacious. It has reduced the morbidity. But we also have some other measures. We have indoor residual spray. And then people should also, as much as possible, improve their environmental hygiene, cleanliness, etc., to reduce the breeding side. Unless you do that, and then we also have some other strategies like use of the sulfadiazine pyrimethamine intermittent preventive treatment in pregnant women, because most of the people that are vulnerable are children under 5 and pregnant women. So we have some other strategies that we apply, not only the nets, to contain malaria.
All right. What has been the role of the private sector in combating malaria, since government alone cannot really do it?
Yeah, actually the private sector is one of our key stakeholders, because you find that 60% of Nigerians, they go to the private sector to seek care. So if the private sector key into our strategies, by using the appropriate diagnosis, appropriate treatment, we will contain it. And the private sector also have a role of, they also manufacture these drugs. And if they come in and support the program by producing quality assured ACT, it will go a long way. The private sector also has been helping the country in resource mobilization. I will give you an instance as the malaria ambassador of the country, Aliko Dangote. He's pursuing the engagement of the private sector. In fact, he's even helping us in coming up with some documents on private sector involvement, whereby the private sector can go along. The private sector also help us in the storage, the distribution, because they have very distributed network into the rural areas. And we have been engaging them, and they have really been doing so well. And then the private sector also, in case of if they observe some whether some smuggling of this, they can alert us so that the security agents can arrest all those people.
All right. Could you tell us what cerebral malaria is all about? Is it a special kind of malaria?
Well, cerebral malaria, in malaria we have what we call uncomplicated malaria and we have severe malaria. So in that severe malaria, one of the presentation is cerebral malaria. Cerebral means brain. So if the malaria parasite lodge into the small blood vessels of the blood in the brain and block, I know the brain blood vessels doesn't branch easily as you see in under your skin. So that blockage we call ischemia, we call edema of the brain tissue, and because of the convulsion and the anemia, general anemia, the anemia is caused by the breakage of the red blood cells. So all this, and then the I mean the brain also needs oxygen to function. So the ischemia due to lack of air also going into the brain, and even some of the nutrients, the blockage will now cause the brain to result into what we call cerebral malaria, and the consequences of that is very fatal to whoever that develops cerebral malaria.
All right, the poverty has been cited as a major factor in malaria prevention and treatment. How does poverty come in here?
Well, both malaria causes poverty, poverty causes malaria. So if somebody has poverty, you know, maybe even his feeding will be low, and that if you are malnourished,
and
your
ACT
immunity will go
is
down.
Also expensive. ACT is not easy to come by.
And then the poverty also will cause you, you will not have the means to buy. So in the programmatic wise, we also give the ACT free of charge in the public health facilities. And the other time you are talking about the private sector, we have also been bringing the ADC to our ACT through our partners, the Global Fund and the Presidential Malaria Initiative, DPIT, etc., in a subsidized form, whereby they sell the drug at a very cheaper rate. But with all these things, if one doesn't have the source. And another issue of poverty is that poverty is also associated with people that are illiterate. And if you are illiterate and you don't have education, your health-seeking behavior is also affected. And if you don't know that in the health facility, all these facilities are available, and you seek the correct way of doing things, you insist in the diagnosis, you know, or if somebody now gives you like chloroquine that has been banned instead of ACT, then you resist it. And then if you resist, that now means that you have to get the quality assured treatment. That
all right, so I have to stop you there as time is no longer on our side. Dr. Audi Bala Mohammed, the coordinator of the National Malaria Elimination Program, who has been discussing the issue of malaria, its prevention and treatment. Thank you for sharing your time with us and, of course, your experience as the coordinator of the National Malaria Elimination Program. Thank you once again for coming to Weekend File. Well, we'll pause for more messages. The program returns very shortly.
The production, distribution, and sale of counterfeit and fake drugs is a corrupt practice and a crime against humanity. This has informed several measures and strategies to combat fake drugs, including introduction of anti-counterfeiting cutting-edge technologies to detect fake drugs on the spot. These technologies are being deployed to all the states across the Federation, as well as the internally displaced people's camps. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, and his team are committed to this fight.
The federal government of Nigeria, in line with its anti-corruption agenda and posture, will fight a total war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products in order to ensure that Nigerians remain healthy and well.
Lend your support and join NAFDAC to rid the country of fake drugs and unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Go to so let the change begin from within. Look at you, oh get roller. Change begins with you and me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with
On sports now, Training Command Kaduna emerged overall champions of the 2016 Nigerian Air Force Games in Katsina as Manchester City returned to the top of the English Premier League table. Kena Imabodike brings us more on Sports Update.
The 2016 Nigerian Air Force Games came to a close Saturday in Katsina with the Training Command Kaduna emerging overall champions with 21 gold, 13 silver and 14 bronze, totaling 48 medals. Headquarters Nigerian Air Force Abuja came second with 46 medals, while Logistics Command Lagos finished third with 26 medals. The Chief of Air Staff team in white and red jersey defeated Governor Aminu Bello Masari's team 2-1 in a novelty football match at a closing ceremony. Tug of war, presentation of prizes to deserving athletes and commands, as well as cultural dances featured at the event. A week-long national training camp for the men and women senior hockey teams has ended in Abuja, with the organizers pledging to sustain the program in order to fortify the teams ahead of global tournament. Powered by the Nigerian Hockey Federation, Nigeria Olympic Committee and the Olympic Solidarity, a total of 32 players made up of 17 males and 15 females attended the training camp.
As a build-up to the African Cup of Nations, which comes up in August next year in Johannesburg.
Yosei Mourinho